On hearing that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he kept calling out the more, "Son of David, have pity on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take courage, get up, Jesus is calling you." There are two sides of the story, two types of followers in this classic story of the healing of Bartimaeus. Bartimaeus represents those who are in need of healing, and the disciples represent those who are ministers in God's vineyard. Both can learn and gain good insight from this story. For those in need, we must learn to persevere like Bartimaeus. He made his voice heard by Jesus. He did not listen to the negative voices who discouraged him from getting Jesus' attention. These voices can come from within oneself or from other people. These negative voices disqualify ourselves before we even meet Jesus. Discouragement wants to silence us until we give up on our journey to meet Jesus and follow him. Notice the crowd rebuked Bartimaeus and told him to be silent, but he kept calling out the more and begged Jesus for his mercy. He did not back up until he heard Jesus' voice calling him forward. Bartimaeus taught us to persevere despite what others are saying, despite all the discouragement and the feeling of inadequacy before Jesus. Finally, he got what he wanted, and his sight was restored. So we too must take courage and remain hopeful and active in our search for Jesus, whether in prayer or in the practical things that we need to do to reach him. Like Bartimaeus, we must be patient in waiting for Jesus to pass by. We must also use all that we have, our voices, our prayers, and everything we got. We must not listen to the negative influences that disqualify us and discourage us. On the other hand, the crowd and the disciples were more concerned in keeping Bartimaeus quiet. As ministers of God's mercy, we can forget about those who are in the fringes of the society. We easily assume that Jesus has no interest in those forgotten people. We make premature judgment on what God can and cannot do, what he will and will not do. Instead, we must let the voices of these broken people heard by Jesus. We must amplify their cry by our prayers so their request is heard by Jesus. Instead of silencing them, we must encourage them to persevere in calling out to Jesus. We too wait with them with an attentive heart until we hear Jesus' voice calling out for them. Brothers and sisters in Christ, let us grow together as his disciples. Let us support one another in our mutual need for God's healing hand. One day it may be you and I who need the mercy of Jesus. Other times it may be someone else who needs our encouragement and support. After all, we are all but beggars who are looking for the scraps of the bread of mercy from Jesus. Let us share this boundless mercy of Jesus to one another.